And
Exactly.
so many of us put these restrictions on ourselves, whether it be from age or circumstance or, again, we can name all of these barriers that get in our way, but it comes down to why not? Why am I
Exactly.
not doing this?
Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, the center of British Columbia, Canada. And for all our guests around the world, the most beautiful country in the world, my opinion, is Canada. The most beautiful province in Canada is BC. And our guest today, a very special guest, entrepreneur, coach, has many abilities, and we hear about a lot of them during our podcast. Her name is Allison Sailor. Is that the right? Yeah. And we call her Allie. Allie, welcome to the show.
Allie. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. And yes, you had it correct, Allison Seller, but I definitely go by Allie.
Sounds good, Allie. And you are also from British Columbia, correct?
I am. And when I've listened to many of your podcasts, and you always give such a beautiful introduction of BC. And yes, when I heard it today, I was like, there it is. And I can actually say I am from the province also and agree with you wholeheartedly. It is so beautiful.
And so you are located in the Lower Mainland. Is it Courtney where you are?
Yes. So I've actually just relocated to Courtney, which is in the Comox Valley on Vancouver Island. I was
Beautiful.
born and raised in the Lower Mainland, so Vancouver, the downtown Vancouver being my backyard for many years, but have relocated to Vancouver Island, and living by the ocean is now what I call living my dream.
I would say, yeah. I've been in the Prince George region for about 60 years. I came in 1965, but we also, the last 20 years, have a place in North Saanich. And North Saanich, for all our guests around the world, everybody knows Victoria and Vancouver, is also on the island, and it's just about 20, 25 minutes out of Victoria is North Saanich. And I fly there every weekend. I usually leave Friday afternoons here. It takes an hour and a half to fly, and every time I'm a pilot, and I've been flying for many, many years, I always sit by the window, and as I look outside over the province of British Columbia, I tell myself, you're in paradise. It's every time I fly. And the same as we arrive in North Saanich, it's paradise. It's simply as that, especially with all the challenges going on around the world. Be so lucky, so fortunate.
Yes, that is so correct. I mean, there are so many opportunities for us to get so caught up, and rightfully so in many cases of what's going on, but to really pause and recognize, and have gratitude, especially when you live in such a beautiful country, in a beautiful area. It's easy to get distracted by other things, and lose appreciation for where you are. So I definitely can relate to that.
Yeah. So looking at you, you had an amazing career and still have as you go forward. You're coaching, you are an entrepreneur, a natural entrepreneur extraordinaire, I believe, because you go in all kinds of different directions. And I look at your bio somewhat, and then, but other things where, you're beautiful for one, and I'm not trying to be smart, but you are, and you already indicated you have 4 children, and your friend and husband's name is Eddie, I believe, correct? And
That's correct, yes.
What are your children's name, Allie? And how old are they? Do you mind?
Our Yes. Yes. No, I'm so happy to share. So, my daughter, she's 26 and her name is Alyssa. Then I have a son, Caden, a son, Brandon. Oh, Caden is 21, Brandon is 19, and Jordan is 17.
All pretty much grown up, right? And, so are they all around the province or close by, relatively speaking?
They are all in the province. between university and school, but definitely, again, navigating their own path right now as well. I'm very much like, go out and really just encouraging them to have experiences and, really connect with people and grow. So they're having a lot of fun also. Again, still very much in school. Um, but also one of them definitely has very much entrepreneurial spirit and is really getting creative down some unique paths, which I love seeing.
So the other thing that I noticed, and again, kind of browsing a little bit on your background, I saw you and Eddie are very much into physical fitness, into health and well-being, and so am I, and so is my wife, myself, are very much into fitness. My wife is vegan. I'm probably 80-20, and I'm really into and this will come familiar to both you and Eddie, is I'm also into bodybuilding and have been going to the gym probably for the last 15-20 years, and and have been a competitive bodybuilder where I competed up north here, bodybuilding physique, placed for the provincials, and the provincials placed for the nationals and the Arnolds. In my class,
Amazing.
55 and older, and I already was 75. They could be my kids, but I still came in second in bodybuilding, third in physique.
I love that. And what is so amazing is my first competition ever was actually in Prince George. And my first competition was at 40. And the same thing, I went into the Masters, but I came first place. And in the Open, I beat all the 20-year-olds. And I was like, that's part of it
Amazing.
that's really good, right?
And that's what I said, when I saw pictures of you, you look great. And I'm not trying to be smart, but the what got me into bodybuilding is that there is always a shocker that happened. In 2008, I got a case of diverticulitis. I don't know if you're familiar with the diverticulitis. And, so I was on the island and I had pain, and I have a high threshold for pain, and you have about 48 hours to get to somebody doing something about it. And I came this close to, the not making, but I got through it. And then afterwards took my health much more serious, although my wife always already was very, very serious about health and fitness. And, I was doing something, but we ride both English dressage, we have horses and all of those kind of things. But then I felt I had to take it more serious, and a diet, and I started going to the gym more regular and got myself a trainer, and then went to the gym for about 7 or 8 years training. And then one day somebody came up to me and say, "Hey, John, have you ever thought about competing?" And I said, "Me?" and then you know how it goes, and I thought, why not? And gave me a goal, and I started then in a serious way competing, and that resulted in obviously going into competition, and then qualified for the nationals and the Arnolds, and then COVID came, and now I'm going back again into training. I just turned 83 November the 1st, so week and a half ago. And so I'm want to compete again in the Arnolds when I'm 84.
Sign me up. I'm going to be there to cheer you on. I think that's
I love it.
so amazing. I love it. And what you said there really stuck to me. It's where someone said to you, "Hey, have you ever thought about competing?" And you said, "Why not?" And
Exactly.
so many of us put these restrictions on ourselves, whether it be from age or circumstance, or, again, we can name all of these barriers that get in our way, but it comes down to why not? Why am I
Exactly.
not doing this? And the having a goal or a direction or something to really attach yourself to, it creates the direction of the next steps.
Yeah, it's a can do, right? Not a can't do. And
Yes.
age is just a number. As you know, I'm also an author, and I think we just send you some books here, But I'm just for our guest is I wrote a book, the Against All Odds, and so and with all the different things that I had been doing, people said to me, "Why don't you write a book?" And so and for about 20 years, I tried to start and then stop and start and stop, because writing books is not easy, and you are also an author, and you know what it takes, and then finally I thought, if I don't do it now, it will never happen. So I really put my mind to it and started working on it in a serious way. So it took me, for Against All Odds, it took me 80 years to live it, and 20 years to think about it, 2 years to write it. And
Isn't that
then
always
it's amazing in a way, So, and then the other part about it is that, I came to Canada, and I should tell you this little bit here is that I was born in Northern Holland, northeastern Holland, actually, November the 1st, 1940, just before the war. And that was a tough time. My dad was drafted into the Dutch army in April, and I was born in November. I had a brother and a sister. The sister was 1 year old, the brother 2 years older. And the last time they heard from him is when Rotterdam got bombed and thousands of people died. And we would not find out for 5 years if he lived or did not live. But so it was my mom alone with her 3 little kids. And it was very tough going, and affected me even much later in terms of, I remember PTSD and the inner child, and got counseling for the inner child actually well into my 50s. Extremely emotional. But the one thing that stands out for me is we were liberated by the Canadian Army April the 12th, 1945, and it left such an impression on me that from that point forward, I knew that I would, I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada. And so it took me till July 1965, and the opportunity presented itself to go to Canada. And then I wanted to start with nothing, and when I came here, because I was not overly successful academically. I failed grade 3, I failed grade 7 3 times. And so I started a labor job when I was 14 years old in a furniture factory. And
wow.
I had the feeling always that I had failed in a sense, but I knew that I could do things just as well as my friends that went to the college and university. And kids are hard on each other, right? Although they were my friends, but when I became a laborer, and I'm proud of that now, but then you were kind of looked down on.
Yeah,
So
you
the
were yeah.
and so then it took me till, I was just talking about books in particular. It took me till 1997, and already 32 years after I was here, when I walked into a store here, and for some reason or another, I picked up this book, and I looked in the book. The title of the book was Driven to Distraction. And
Give in to distraction.
yes, it was about
Okay.
ADHD. And I said, oh my God, that's me. And I wrote in that book in Dutch, now I finally know who I am. And
That's
and then it took me another 5 years, and then I was 62, until a friend of ours, my doc that delivered our 2 daughters, and I was a good friend, but it took me 5 years before I walked into his office, and he said, hey, John, why are you here? I said, I think I got ADHD. And so we checked it out, and yes, I do. And then it took time for me still being ashamed of, because I'm building a company and all kinds of businesses. And what am I going to do? Go to the bank and say, make a proposal. I want to build this other company or buy this other company. I'm trying to borrow a couple of $1 million or whatever it is. But I have to tell you, I have a mental disorder that's called ADHD. Have a nice day, right? So obviously that's not the way it is today. But I became more vocal about it, and I wrote a book. I felt that I had to write a book about it, and I did that. And I wrote that it came out 2 years ago. Is ADHD Unlocked?
Yeah.
Very popular, actually, and the frequency of occurrence was thought to be about 8%, and I believe, and a lot of other people believe now too, that it is well over 20%. So that's why I wrote the book about it, and it has been quite popular, actually.
Well, when I reached out to you at first, I was listening to some of your podcast episodes, and you spoke to ADHD, and you spoke to, specifically certain diagnosis where we can look at it differently. They can be your superpower, right? And
Exactly.
it really spoke to me, and it encouraged me to reach out to you. I shared a little bit of the story how one of my sons, is sensory processing disorder. And it was a label that I didn't necessarily understand, but I was quick to realize that the educational system was really not set up or structured to support him in the way he learns. The way he learns isn't wrong. The way he learns is just different. So it was really battle. And for such a long time, we tried to, not because we wanted to change him, but we tried to change the way he worked so that he could fit into a system, until it was really one day we stepped back and we thought, well, this is his superpower. Like, there's so many strengths that he has that are just beyond amazing, that are part of his character and who he is with the way he processes and learns things. So the minute we were able to recognize it as his superpower, and actually, instead of trying to have him conform, for us to really adjust to the way he does it, it changed his life. It changed his life. And again, that stood out to me so deeply, because it is a superpower. And just because we don't do things how everybody else does things, that it's our uniqueness those are the people that change the world.
Exactly. And the occurrence in about ADHD in particular is a lot of very, very successful people in the world, ADHD, more so all the time, Allie, as you well know. I'm also a very active speaker, and I speak not only on that topic, but on entrepreneurship and a lot of other topics. But one of them, a lot of times, also is about ADHD. And I get it over and over and over again. The people said, I've never talked to anybody about it, but, that I have ADHD, or my son. And so what I say with the book in particular is that ADHD Unlocked does not only apply to ADHD being slow learners, or, and have attention issues as it relates to boring things that they don't have much interest in, and let's be honest about it. And
Yes.
so the book is also for those individuals. And when I was writing the book, and I write it as a person with ADHD, so you can start the book anywhere you want. And then we did send you a copy of the book, did we?
I believe that it's in the mail as we speak.
Okay, so as you will notice, I think I signed it yesterday. So you can start a book anywhere, go forward, backwards, and just for the purposes of somebody with ADHD. And when I was writing it, what was unique about it is that I felt there was something still missing before I finished the book. And we were getting close to getting the print copy ready for our printers. There's a timeline always involved. And so I was, still not quite ready for it. And so I was sitting on the flight, from Victoria to Vancouver, actually. I said my overseas flight of 12 minutes, gate to
Oh my
gate a
goodness.
half an hour. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. And so I was sitting next to this fella, and he said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, I'm Tom Berger, and he said I'm the vice president of academics of the BCIT." And so we started in a very short flight. We started talking about. He said, "How did you make out with your book Against All Odds?" I said, "It's all done." And and I said, "I'm working on another one." And he said, "Which one?" I said, "I'm writing a book about ADHD, and it's nearly finished." And he said, "That is interesting that you do that, because we are looking at learning in a different structure, and they call that micro certification, where the educational piece is the focus of what you want to have the individual learn is the core, and the other things are secondary to it.
Mm,
It's a
mm.
whole different approach that's not
Wow.
only practiced by BCIT, but is becoming more interesting as we find out about not only people with ADHD, but for a number of other reasons are slow learners in a traditional way. So,
Yeah.
and so what I did then, so I said, "That's interesting." And so then the following flight, by pure coincidence, I was sitting in seat 4A, he was sitting in 1F, the flight was full, and I said over the other people, I said, "Tom, so you wait by the gate before you leave. I have to talk to you." And all the people saying, "What is going on here?" Anyway, so he waited for me. I talked to him. I said, "I need you. I'm going to send you a copy of the book so far, and I need you. There is a piece that is missing in my book. Is saying that, okay, that's interesting, John, and that is all good, and all the other things, the people I interviewed, but where do we go from here? That piece is missing." And I said, "I want you to at least write a small piece about that in terms of micro certification. Where are we
Yeah.
going with the educational system, and how can it help the people that follow us and that are now being recognized for all the reasons that we talked about?"
Yeah. And I love what you said there, the language that is used. It's they're making changes from the traditional way of learning or the
Correct.
traditional way of doing things. And, even if we're to reference that back to entrepreneurship, it's people who are stepping out of so often the traditional way of doing things. So we recognize it in one aspect and recognize, the value of people who are growing companies or businesses or offerings of something that is completely different. But then our school system has been so structured in such a traditional way that isn't serving of the youth and the kids and the adults who have been going through it. So to
Exactly.
hear that, it's really powerful. And yeah, I love to hear that they're making some of those shifts because I know it's been a significant battle. And I've been on the front line of that with my son and trying to recognize, or get him through a system that was not structured for him.
You see, for me, Allie, that's why it's so important for me, is that when I left school or failed school 3 times, grade 7, and then my parents were beautiful people, but then they said, "Well, what are you going to do with him?" So the options were send him to a mentally challenged school, or get him a job, or learn
Put him
in
in
a
a trade.
career.
Yeah.
So the trade that they sent me to a furniture factory, which I loved, and then at nights I would go to the college to learn to become a furniture maker. But the feeling of failing always stayed with me. Not so much I knew I could do it myself. I had the confidence that I could do it, and it so became for me. My dad was managing a small lumber company, so my dreams were to go to Canada, to the land of my heroes. From
Seekers,
the
yeah.
time that I was 5 years old, and we got liberated by the Canadians. I always felt that's where I belong, the land of my heroes in Canada. And then, obviously, after the schooling and the things around there, I already wanted to leave for the purposes of feeling that I could do it as well. And when I was 17, my parents then wouldn't let me. I was only 17, and then I was 18 and was drafted in the Dutch Air Force for 30 months, and then after that worked in a force company, and then I decided to leave. It was July of 1965. I was nearly 24. I was still 23 actually when I came to Canada, and then I wanted to start from nothing. And so I had one suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and $150 when I left Amsterdam.
Wow.
And by the time I knew I had to go to British Columbia. That's where they're growing all the trees. And so when I came
So the
off,
lumber company you began with was in Holland then?
no, I was working. My dad was, my
Furniture.
grandfather was a master carpenter. And
Okay.
he died early, but I saw his work, and I always admired him, although I didn't know him for what he could. My dad managed a small lumber company, and I love the lumber industry, and so that's always something that I wanted to build a career in. And so when I came to Canada, then, my dream was to come to Canada. The second was build my own lumber company. And
Yes.
but I wanted to start with nothing so that I could start from the ground up to prove to me that I could do it. And so when I came to, they said BC. So when I arrived in BC, I went to the immigration office, and there was a German fellow. I couldn't speak English. Didn't have a job, didn't know a soul. But I could speak some German. And I told him what I wanted to do. He said, Prince George. That's where they're building all the lumber mills. And so off to Prince George I went. And when that came off the bus in Prince George, here in July of 1965, I had my suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and I had exactly $25.47 in my pocket, and I was going to build a lumber mill, and so but
Wow.
was my foundation was attitude. I always look at the positive side. The glass to me is always half full. And no matter how bad the day is today, I'll swear it will be much better tomorrow. And then second one is my passion. I give it all I got, and and then the third one is work ethic, and what will follow is success. My employees gave this to me, actually.
I love that. And I love, again, that attitude is first because it has to be first. And, even in what I do, there's so many conversations I have and so many people who want to figure out how. And I'm like, if you don't have the attitude, the belief system, the understanding of why you want to create something that you're rooted to, the how is never going to work. You're always going to be searching for another how. How is easy. People have gone before us, right? There's so much data we can take from that. But again, if you don't have the attitude, if you don't have that belief system, you're constantly going to be battling against these walls that are going to knock you down.
Yeah, no question about that. But even then, still, that when I came here, started as a cleaner man, lumber pilot, and within a year, I was the superintendent of one of the largest lumber mills here in the region, and even that didn't go quick enough for me. So I got an opportunity to manage a small lumber mill, and of all places, with an option that I would, if I run the place for 5 years, I would get 1/3 of the ownership. I did it for 5 years in Watson Lake, Yukon.
Wow. Okay.
Now
So was that your first piece of ownership then of a company?
yes, it was, and then I stayed in a motel, and I ended up buying this motel. So that were my first entrepreneurial moves that I made. You know,
Like, I
it's
can't afford to stay here all the time, so I'm just gonna buy it.
yeah. So in any event, it's all in my book, and
Yeah.
as is now on the way to you, and you may find
Yes.
it interesting. But even then, Allie, I still did not feel that was. I still did not feel that I had the confidence that I could do it. And everybody said to me, as I became larger with my companies and started my company in Prince George and in other places, they said, "Oh, you're so successful." And I didn't feel that way. I felt still that I had failed.
Mhm.
And it really was not until all those years, a couple of things happened. The one is that I had difficulty communicating outside of my own circle of about 3 or 4 people. And what happened is that by pure coincidence in 1990, my ex-sister-in-law dragged me to a Toastmasters meeting. And I
Ah.
said, what are they going to do there? They said, nothing. You just sit there and you listen. I said, well, nobody's going to ask me to do anything. No, 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 no. Just sit there and listen. I said, okay. So I went at middle of the meeting. Somebody said, and John, tell us a little bit about you. And I said, oh my God, I'll never go back yet. I stayed there for 10 years.
Ugh.
I
Well,
became a distinguished Toastmasters, the highest level in Toastmasters, and it changed my life, so there is no question about that. So between my dream of going to Canada and then, the Toastmasters, and then in 1990 till 2000, and then in 1997, me finding the book Driven to Distraction, about ADHD, it changed my life, and then gave me the confidence. I became a very active speaker now, professional speaker, and in demand. And then the other part is interesting, is I'm a good writer, and I always have been.
Hmm.
And so I feel so strongly about ADHD as a topic and other learning disabilities. That's why I speak about it a lot, is because if I look back, it took me most of my life, really, that I didn't feel good about myself, right up to the time that I was diagnosed by my doc, and,
Stretches that
all
for you.
night, yeah, So,
Yeah.
and I believe that being more vocal about it and being proactive about it, including what we were talking about earlier in terms of your son, and saying the traditional learning system does not
Mhm.
work for everybody. And then
Yes.
entrepreneurs in particular, are blessed usually with those effects in a way, ADHD. And that's why I believe, like for myself, doing all these things that I'm doing, I couldn't do them without being ADHD. No
No.
question
And
about
that
that. It's a
yeah, and that
superpower.
it is. And again, I think too, we go through life with labels. People speak labels over us, and we have ideas of what those labels represent. Some of them we perceive as good. Oh, you are the smart one, or the athletic one, or you are the chunky one, or you are the one with ADHD. We have these labels and we identify with them, which can hold us back, especially when we look at labels where they're perceived ways of learning or mental illness, or again, things that are with the implication that you are not enough. And
Exactly.
when we make decisions in our life attaching to these labels, regardless, again, if they're positive or negative, we are making decisions based on who we are told we are. And that can absolutely, again, impact our lives and hold us back. I actually love that for a period of time you didn't know, right?
Exactly.
Because there's the superpower when you find out because it puts the pieces together for you. But
Exactly.
without knowing, you also had to navigate and you didn't have the label of something that you then limited yourself with.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and at the same time, as you already indicated, what I found in particular, Allie, since I've been more vocal about it, and virtually on a daily basis, I hear, that parents have children that they are concerned about that either have ADHD, slow learners for some reason or another, including trauma, that will affect learning ability, that
Definitely.
the sooner they find out and that they can, A, give them confidence that they are just fine and that a lot of people that are affected by slow learning for whatever reason become very, very successful in life, whatever that may be, right?
And even like slow learning, it's just different learning,
And
right?
that's
It's just,
exactly
yeah, it's just
micro
different learning.
certification is the right approach to it, where you say, well, let's focus, and especially now, like for in business and all around and health and all throughout the world, really is a real shortage of skill sets. But, if you put somebody in a school for the next 4 years to learn a whole lot of stuff and the core piece would take you 6 months to learn, then there is something we're not doing right.
Yeah,
There's something
absolutely.
not, and micro certification would be the direction to go, in my opinion.
No, I would 100% agree with you. And the fact that it is getting recognized and that they're creating program structures around, again, understanding what are you here for? You're here for to, learn this, or this is the outcome. And now to take all of the other noise, which is distraction, and really create that focus, it's really powerful and it'll change a lot of lives.
Yeah. And then the unfortunate part sometimes would be like for me, when I read the book, Driven to Distraction in 1997, and then, it took me another 5 years before, then I was 62, before I got diagnosed. It makes me wonder what happened to all the other people that felt that they were just not good enough, or
Yeah.
they had been told that you're too dumb in school, or too all these other things that we can do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's very unfortunate in some
It
cases.
is
In
because,
my case, it drove me up because I
yes.
had the confidence, right?
Yeah. And again, that's amazing because you did. You said, like, I had that confidence. You had this rooted belief in yourself. But for the vast majority of people, we believe what is spoken over us.
Right.
And when it is spoken over us, that becomes our core belief. It becomes our truth. And it's not our truth. It's living by somebody else's word or standard. So
Right.
the fact that you had this, and also again that confidence and recognized and navigated, it wouldn't have been easy either because things weren't set up for you to succeed, but still
Exactly.
being able to navigate and again with attitude. I think that went back to your board there.
So, Allie, then I look at you. You are coaching. You and Eddie seem to be very active in your lives in terms of health and fitness. So tell us a little bit about, your objectives and what you do. You are very active in coaching. You do public speaking. You're an
Yes.
author, and both of you seem to be very, very active and proactive.
Yeah. So, I think you referenced it at the beginning when you spoke to entrepreneurship, how it takes so many different roads. And often the road we are on takes us to a completely different one. And then again, I and my husband and I have been in the health and fitness industry for, oh my goodness, I think this was going to age us also, but probably coming up to 30 years. I started first studying nutrition when I was having personal health problems, and I became a vegetarian 30 years ago, and that's where I can kind of time it out for myself. I focused really on nutrition and mindset coaching, life coaching. My husband's focus was training and just transforming the body physically. We built a business together. Well, first, I should say we built it individually. We both had our own companies, and we built this business together. And by industry standards, it was very successful. By industry standards, what I mean by successful is we had back-to-back clients. We were booked from morning to night. And we talk about, moments in time that really transition us or change us into a new direction. And it was a moment in time for me when I recognized that I was becoming unhealthy in the health industry. I was putting my health and my goals and my family's also, goals and needs below the operation of the day-to-day business. And I thought to myself, the industry is structured to sell time for money. If we're selling time for money, we can only expand so much in that format because we can't create more time.
No.
So we either would have to hire other people in a team to create more time or add products or secondary things. It was just this moment where I thought there's got to be a different way of doing things, a different way of structuring how we work. So I looked at much actually like when we're talking about the program, I think it was at BCIT, where it's this like micro, like understanding what people desire. When people buy time, they're deciding if you're worth it. They'll show up for the hour. When you are selling a result, people need to decide if they are worth it and really look at, a goal. So I restructured, against industry standards, against the way people, typically engaged in the health and wellness industry. And we really put together packages. And these packages were not based on my goals or my expectations of somebody, but really what somebody wants to be experiencing. None of us actually want, to lose weight. We want to be the person that we align with having that healthy body or that slimmed down body. And again, the same with really specific conditions. So we restructured our business. We restructured in this model. And within the first 48 hours of launching a new structure, a new way of working, we made more in 48 hours than we typically did in a month. And it really wasn't about that. But all of a sudden I was like, okay,
yeah,
what are we doing different right now that is speaking to somebody, that's really connecting with somebody?
Exactly.
We ran in this model, and we still run in this model in the sense that we work with people to really identify what it is they want to be experiencing. And then we back it up instead of saying, hey, let's get you in the gym and change your food, but not really know why it's important to them, what they want to be experiencing. Talking about a pivot and a turn, this again worked extremely well. We've had, the successes we used to have were great. The successes we have now in this model, just there's no comparison. And taking this and really understanding too that, we should be able to have lifestyle, right? Lifestyle is something that we miss. We miss it in the school system. We're taught to build life. We're taught to go to school, taught to get a job, to be happy with 3 weeks vacation, to have the weekends, on the soccer field. But we're not ever asked, what do you want your lifestyle to look like?
Right.
How do you want to live? So again, these are these questions I started to reflect on and bring back, and really looked at, how can I help people on a bigger scale? How can I reach more people? How can I reach more families? Which is really, again, where it morphed into what I do now. And again, with education, with life experience, with my experiences, really helping people to restructure their businesses. Growing income, it's actually easier than most of us think. It's just we're attached to the wrong things.
Right.
But when we can look at restructuring, but also what do you want to be experiencing? The same way that we spoke to about transforming a body. What do you want to be experiencing in your business? And again, helping people not just create an increase of income, but help them really connect to and start living the lifestyle that they've desired. We want to run a business because we've got a vision of a life and a movement that we want to make.
Now, at some point in your bio, you say 4, 4, and
Right.
4. So, can you tell me a little bit more about that
Yes,
and our
absolutely. I
guest?
call it, yes. So I call it 4x4.
4 by 4, yeah.
And with 4x4, it was this, again, the structure I put into the background of working 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. And I mean, I get pushback on that a lot because I want to work more. And I hear you. I would be lying if I didn't say I thrive in my work and creating, and just, I'm always thinking of ideas and creating. But where I talk about the 4x4 is how you can structure your day to have those productive hours, whether those are like client time or meetings, or those, necessities to really run a well-oiled business, which allows you that other time for the creative to, go to events where you can meet and connect with some other amazing people, where you can build. So the 4x4, it's really about how do we take how you're working and actually really structure it. So 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, you are really working the business. You are doing that, the part that is required to have a well-functioning business. And how do we use that other time for growth and lifestyle and expansion? So being able to do that has actually been such a gift to myself. It's been such a gift to so many businesses and entrepreneurs that I've been blessed to work with, because what we also recognize is how much time we are filling with stuff that is actually wasting time. Like, we can fill the day, a lot of us can fill the day with a lot of noise in between, and yet we can come in, have a structure, know what we need to do in those 4 hours, be really successful, and then you can have the time to go to your child's sports, or, again, get into creative mode and build something else, whatever you want to use that time.
How do we balance it, right?
Yeah.
Between, and especially for people that are entrepreneurs or busy in business, it's easy to get buried to the
Yes.
point where there is just no time, or at least in the mind of the
Yeah.
entrepreneur,
Exactly.
for all the other things. I remember, what I say a lot of times, that the first 30 years of building a business,
Yeah.
I worked as long as I could stay awake,
Yeah.
24/7. But
Yes.
that's not really healthy,
No.
so and questionable in terms of being effective. Very hard
Yeah.
on families, for one. And
Yeah.
then the second one, it makes you then wonder, am I really being effective? I feel for my lifestyle, between, I spend the weekends being in Victoria, although I have an
Exciting.
office in our house in North Percentage, but I do more things that, working on books and doing things that I enjoy. Both my wife, myself, we are into horses. We have a farm in North Saanich, and so those kind of things. And it makes you more effective, I believe, in terms of the things that I do during the week. Just looking forward to winding down. And the other one, the social interaction. I love
Mhm.
the podcast and
Mhm.
interacting with communities and all of the other kind of things. But the podcasting as well, for me, has been amazing. And, we podcast with people from all over the world, and all kinds of different professions. And it has been a very, very interesting, to say the least. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Just what you said there about, again, having the time and looking forward to coming over to Saanich during, the weekends, but also recognizing that with that space, that capacity, and where you're fueling yourself, re-energizing yourself,
Correct.
the ideas and creativity that comes from stepping back is unmatched. It's what inspires books. What inspires podcasts. When we
Right.
don't allow ourselves any space, and I think, again, entrepreneurs have that drive and that desire to succeed. They're not ready to shut off at 5 o'clock, and I recognize that. But also, again, it's looking at how can we use our time better within the business so that if you want to work till 10, great. But instead of working to catch up, work to create.
Right.
If we can structure our time more efficiently, which many of us just are not structuring our time efficiently, whether that's client meetings, whether that is, again, the operations of the business. So where I really love to come in is look at, the efficiency of the business. How can we restructure the efficiency of the business to that 4x4 and then use that time for creation? And sometimes that time, again, is saying, no, I'm going to my son's concert and I don't need to worry about it, taking that time away and not even being present.
Right. So you've been very successful in coaching, and the type of clients that approach you usually are, what are they expecting, or what are they looking for, trying to have you assist them in lifestyle and in other topics?
Yes.
What would that be?
Yeah. So it's very much business and lifestyle. Where I always say where most people come to me, it's those people who have that knowing, like they have the vision for success and in their own right, they are successful, but they feel trapped in the doing and can't really create the lifestyle. They're just so misaligned to how they're living, but also trapped in the hustle culture and can't even grow their income. So
Right.
it's primarily, again, these people who have grown to a certain level of success, but just feel like they can't break this barrier. It's just not what they envisioned. So what I really love doing, again, is taking their expertise. I'm not trying to reinvent a wheel. I'm looking at their expertise, fine tuning how they work, looking at, what is that next level or growth in income, but how do we create that in such a way that we aren't creating more work, right? We're actually realigning to how you want to live. Every person I speak with, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it would be like to take a vacation and not feel like a month behind after a week, right?
Right.
And so much of that is actually quite easy to make the shifts internally, structurally. It's really, a lot of it is mindset and really
No
connecting
question.
one experience.
So how do they know you? Do you have a website? How do you attract your client base?
Yes. So I do have a website. The website is www.healthacademyinc.com. That's, again, an easy way to reach me. They could also reach me via many social media platforms, but also email grow@healthacademyinc.com. And I will just touch on Health Academy. Health is a foundation for me. Health is a foundation of my life. It's what's transformed this journey and how I've grown. And what I've recognized as well is, I thought, okay, well, is Health Academy, is that going to confuse people coming into lifestyle and business coaching? But what I recognized is health, wealth, and relationships are all pivotal in creating a balanced, healthy life. If we aren't even taking care of our health, if we are unhealthy, our income is impacted. If our relationships are stressful and our marriage is in turmoil, our health and wealth is impacted. So they're very intertwined. I launched a program called The Wealthy Entrepreneur, but I spell wealthy, W-E-L-L, all in capitals. So The
Right.
Wealthy Entrepreneur, and really, again, focusing on, health, wealth, and relationships.
Is that a program, or is
It is.
is that
Yes,
on the same website, or
it is. Yes, the
what is
program is on the same website.
on the what? Which website is it on?
Yeah, it is on healthacademyinc.com.
Okay.
That is where you'll find The Wealthy Entrepreneur.
So that is a whole different direction than that you started with, because what,
Yes.
if I remember well from what you said, is that you were so busy with making other people feel good and healthy that it affected your health. And so
Yes.
therefore you had to change direction, which you did, and kind of totally change the model. Although it kind of appears the same, it isn't the same. And so,
Exactly.
and at the same time, it appears to me that, especially now, is that health, fitness are the foundation of being able to do all the things that you want to do. If you're not healthy, you're not fit, and you're not happy, and and subsequently the people around you, if you're not happy, they're not happy, then
No.
it's not good. And it's so common these days that people are totally stressed out, that they're looking for direction. So that likely is that the new
Those
area
are the
that it.
people. Yes. Those are the people I am so inspired to speak with and support and help through that transition. Through, again, it's not about recreating, it's about restructuring. We all have these amazing ideas and visions and goals, but again, we're caught up in the how and the doing. I I talk a lot today. We have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had in the history of mankind.
No question.
Yet we are more confused, more anxious, more depressed than we have ever been in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
So there's so much noise out there that we're getting lost, and we're in this like battle of trying to keep up and create, where we're missing the focus or the core of how we want to serve in the first place.
Yeah, no question about that, Allie. The other part that I found, and I have to show you another book.
Yes.
I did that, and it came out this July. And what I've always found, is that I get a lot of questions from people that say to me, that I don't particularly like my job, or I want to change my career, or young people saying, I ask them, they go to university, but what are you pursuing? What would you like to do? And they say, I don't know. I have no idea. So what I say, and then on the other hand, having people that are doing things that are not happy in doing it, I say, change. You say,
Yes.
well, I'm
Yes.
40, I can't change. But you can,
Yes, you can.
So, and then I felt I have to write a book about it, so I did. So the book is
I
Finding Your
love that.
Passion, Living the Dream. And then the other day I heard on one of the U.S. main channels, CNN or somebody, that's saying that 70% of the population that don't like their jobs,
I know.
and
Isn't
that
that sad?
75% of the 70% are looking for another job. That's not good, because that
No.
directly goes to the issues that we talked about, is diet, fitness, and happiness or contentment.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy in relationships or in your work environment, it affects everybody around you. And
Yeah.
so So
No,
I believe that's very, very critical.
it is so critical, and those statistics are actually so sad. It's We spend the vast majority of our life within our career or our work, and when we're unhappy there, 70% unhappy there, and then we look at again the level of depression or anxiety or broken marriages and homes. It's like, of course it is. But with your book there, finding your passion, living your dreams, everybody has a passion, but how many people have buried theirs or been
Exactly.
told again their dreams are silly? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, your dream is
No.
not silly. Your dream is
No.
not silly. If it was on your heart, there's a reason for that. And maybe we can just look at that and structure that again in a way that can create an income. So many people think their corporate careers are secure. And again, I've got a ton of respect for every type of industry, but that's not secure. That's a false
No.
sense of security.
Exactly. The other thing that I find a lot of times now that, and especially speaking to young people in particular, but also middle-aged and in some cases older, is that they're not happy with who they are. I said, that I believe that everybody is unique and special. There is so much pressure now from society, the way you look, the way you dress, the way and all the things around you. I said, be happy, be special, because every individual is unique and has these qualities. And, so
Yeah.
that being at peace with who you are is very,
Mhm.
very important and very, very critical.
It is. And again, that's where it goes back to health being the foundation. And if we are living again in a career and this hustle and, not even having the capacity to have time for ourselves, then again, we're not doing simple things that should be mandatory to take care of ourselves. We're not producing the endorphins and the healthy hormones to feel good and energized. So it's
Exactly.
very much, it's all tied together. And it's not all or nothing, it's finding the balance between things. But again, first and foremost, understanding what is it you actually want.
Yeah.
We've buried that. We haven't been asked it. We've put it on the back burner. It's not relevant anyway because, many people I spoke to, well, that doesn't matter what I want. It's what I have to do. It's like, well, no, hold on.
No.
What do you want? What do you
Yeah,
want?
exactly. The other part that I find is the giving back to the community is so important. And growing up in Holland, that was the culture that I grew up with. And when I'm here, I've always been involved in the community here. And sometimes, it does that mean always money? No, it doesn't. But just being involved, I
Yes.
think, is very, very important. The other parts that are important to me is that, especially now, on last week in particular, was important because of the Remembrance Day, that I've made it a point in the last 12 years in particular, since I was born during the Second World War, and still remember a lot of the things that made it a very, very difficult time. With wars that are happening around the world, a lot of people sometimes have the misunderstanding or don't really think about it as much as it's not just the war years, but follows the war years. It takes, in a lot of cases, a generation before there is a sense of normality again.
Mhm.
And so what I always do every year for the last 12 years, I speak to 2 or 4 schools throughout the province about remembering, why the 2 minute silence, what does it really mean, and why is it
Significance.
important for us to recognize it. And so that to me is important, and I do it every year. And
Yeah.
sometimes it gets a bit hectic. I did 4 schools last year, 2 in Surrey, White Rock, and 2 in
Okay.
the north. And but to me, that has always been very, very important.
It is. And there's a few things there. Again, it's just what you shared. And give is so important. It's part of who we are. But again, capacity, right? People don't have the capacity or feeling, again, listening to so much noise in the world, then people hold in, right? Whether it's
Right.
financially, whether it's emotionally, they're holding where we need. Give is, it's not a luxury. It's like mandatory. It's
Yeah.
mandatory short for society, but for us, it's something we get to do.
Ellie, it was an amazing conversation. Again, before you go, I want you to mention once more your website, and then
Yes.
the other part is that, especially now, when there are so much pressures, we see so many things happening on TV around the world that, and I can see where people. It is helpful to find people that stand back and take a look at the pressure on somebody that is then seeking some guidance or consultation and obviously that's your specialty, and you have 30 years of experience behind you, and have been very, very successful, and I would certainly recommend it, to my friends that feel challenged in areas to speak to a professional like yourself in that field. And and it was a delight to have you as a guest on my podcast. So maybe you have
Thank
some
you.
more comments.
Yes, thank you so much, John. I've absolutely enjoyed our conversation and being a guest. If anybody would like to contact me, my website is www.healthacademyinc.com. Please reach out, please connect with me, Instagram or social media at Allison Seller. It's just great to start the conversation. We all, again, have a vision of what we want to create and often feel so trapped in our realities. It takes one conversation to see if we are aligned and in a position to move forward together. At the very least, again, it's a great conversation with so many different people. So please connect. I would be happy again to have a conversation with you. And John, this conversation has been so inspiring. There's so many little tidbits. I always love to reflect after these types of calls, and just everything's learning, right? We're on this world to learn and absorb and to build a relationship. So I thank you for your time and for what you've shared with me that I know will provide value in my days moving forward also.
Thank you for being my guest, Elliot. We should stay in touch, and in the next 6 months or so. And again, someday when you're in Victoria on the weekend, give me a call, and maybe we can get together.
Yes, definitely.
Thank
I
you
will
for being
definitely
my
do
guest.
that.
Thanks, Allie. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Appreciate it.